Welcome to how to streamline AP automation and multi-entity payments with CratoFlow and SoftLedger. My name is Kayla Briones, and I'm the marketing manager for SoftLedger, and I'll be your host for today. So today's webinar, we're going to explore how the integrated solutions from CratoFlow and SoftLedger can automate AP workflows and consolidate financials across multiple entities for greater efficiency and real-time visibility. So I'd like to kick it off by introducing our presenters, Shiv Patel, CEO and co-founder of CratoFlow,
Hello.
and Ben Taylor. Hi, Ben Taylor, CEO and co-founder of SoftLedger. Awesome. Yeah, hey. So, okay, cool. To start off, what are the complexities for multi-entity consolidation?
Sure. So anytime you're consolidating financial information for multiple entities, it's complex, and I'll walk through a few reasons why that's the case. First, different entities often have different regulatory reporting requirements. Different countries have different financial reporting standards, GAAP or IFRS, for instance, and sometimes entities need to report in different currencies than the parent organization. So the subsidiary could be in euros, parent could be in USD. And having the ability to report at each level separately for each entity separately, and then combine everything together and have a consolidated view is critical. Then consistency and standardization are key as well. So with more entities comes the need to have increased controls to ensure standardization is used across the organization. This is a combination of preventative controls, such as user permissions, audit logs to evidence who did what and when, and system settings like standardized chart of accounts. And then finally, having various people spread all over the world performing different actions in the same system at the same time requires a systematic approach to entering data. With different time zones and concurrent users, there's just no getting around having to have that all in a system to handle that appropriately. And so, yeah, so next, I can kick it over to Shiv, who can go over the AP side of things and why that's complex and requires automation as well.
Sure. So I know, Ben just mentioned like how things can be really fragmented when you have multiple entities, some real estate businesses that have multiple properties that they're dealing with. And a lot of times the ERP that you're working with, and I know SoftLedger has this component, but there are other ERPs out there that don't actually help that situation, like QuickBooks, for example. And so with the fragmentation can actually create a lot of issues. So using an automation tool to assist with that when you're importing your invoices into a platform and letting it decipher, line by line what those entries look like and assigning it to each individual entity, that's useful because then you can plug it back into your ERP and it could go according to that specific entity. So it can create inefficiencies when a team might have to deal with, all these intercompany situations as well. So with AP automation, we can consolidate all these workflows into a single unified process. You have within systems, you kind of have that parent-child relationship, and assigning it directly to invoices and letting a system kind of manage that and centralizing the entire process is really beneficial when you're looking at your core, accounting process. In addition, like you have like the workflow component as well. So when you're thinking about, who's in charge of specific entities and being able to send that document over for approvals, that visibility is crucial as well. So that's definitely needed when it comes to an automation tool. Sorry, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah. Just layering on that too. When you combine these two, those two pieces, now you have accounts payable automation in various entities at various levels in potentially various geographic regions with different people doing, taking different actions. The complexity just compounds pretty significantly. And so having bank accounts with different legal entities, the bank account tied to the various AP processes. There's considerations, of course, with international payments that you don't have when you're domestic. And then as you're making payments out of one entity on behalf of another, or even an entity is billing another entity, and they're both intercompany entities with respect to the consolidated organization, you need to book both entries in both entities and then eliminate them. And the less that automated that is, the more you're going to miss something. It happens too often. Anyone that's been in this world, that you book an entity in one organization and it's an intercompany an entry in one organization. It's an intercompany entry, and the other entry that's associated in the other intercompany location never gets booked for whatever reason. That kind of thing just starts to build, and at the end of the month, you don't know really what happened, and it takes a long time to unwind it. So that only gets to be more of a problem as you have more AP activity in these various entities. And then of course the controls, like having different approvers based on what the business line, or department a particular expense rolls into, and or having different dollar approval thresholds are a component of this too, that tools like CratoFlow really helps to automate that within this multi-entity context.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, now that we've gone over that, why don't we dive into how CratoFlow and SoftLedger integrate to simplify multi-entity management and AP automation?
Sure. So basically, CratoFlow is an end-to-end integrated platform. We take physical documents, upload them into a platform from an invoicing, accounts payable invoicing standpoint. Our system processes everything. We route it out for approval, and then the entries get directly posted into SoftLedger. So as you can see here, initially, when you look at an in-house process, it's a very manual process. On average, it could take about 7 minutes to upload and process a document. With CratoFlow, it's about 20 seconds or less. And if it requires no approval, it's even less than that. And so when you're thinking about pure automation and thinking about automating the entire process for your accounting, day-to-day accounting, you think about things like AP automation, because it's reducing the manual effort on your end, right? And I think today, when CFOs are looking at implementing automation within their department and how that's crucial to saving costs and saving time, I think time it's a big thing, right? When your accountants are already inundated with so many different things, and then you have that multi-entity layer added to it, then you have all these additional processes that you're doing on a day-to-day basis, and then you add payments on top of that, right? And so this piece of it is what we're looking to automate the most, because it's so mundane and it shouldn't require too much effort. An accountant should be putting so much effort into this process. A system should be able to kind of take it and decipher the information and spit it out into an ERP in a matter of seconds. And that all happens in real time. And going back to Ben's, conversation about multi-entity, we do actually map all of that for you within SoftLedger, and it's very seamless, and it's in real time, and it goes in directly per invoice.
Great, yeah, and that's layering onto that, how SoftLedger helps with helps to consolidate these multiple entities as fast as possible and in real time when possible. Is we have the ability to have a lot of entities. You can get, if you have entities that you haven't traditionally brought into a system, you can bring those all in, have them at various levels with different reporting currencies in each entity, with different posted currencies for your transactions in each entity. It will automatically, SoftLedger automatically pulls in the foreign currency rates with each transaction, which is relatively unique within general ledger accounting products, because traditionally, for legacy systems, you haven't been able to have access to API readable rates with the transaction. And with SoftLedger, you do. And so those automatically get pulled in. And so you immediately have a consolidated view of all of your entities all in one system. And then at month end, there's some certain entries that need to get booked to make sure everything is in the right place. So remeasurement for foreign currencies, for instance, at each entity, and then the translation of your financials all the way up the chain to the consolidated entity. We do that all automatically as well. And by doing this in a system that allows for a standard chart of accounts across all your entities and some standardization of other pieces of your data structure, it allows you a real-time view into your organization, and then layering in automation for things like foreign currency remeasurement, translation, and the intercompany eliminations that I was talking about earlier, other components of the consolidation process.
So yeah, to add on to that, Ben, I mean, when you're looking at, and I didn't talk too much about the foreign currency aspect, but yeah, our system basically, and the way it works with SoftLedger is we can take in foreign invoices, we can take in like foreign amounts, but then SoftLedger will do the conversion on their end, so it can be imported in. But basically, when you're thinking about accounts payable automation, of course, you want that scalable solution, as you know, Ben's been talking about as well, and then the advanced technology that's sitting on top of it. So the whole point is that, you know, we are speeding up the process, and then we're using you need the solution like SoftLedger because it's handling your GLs, your fixed assets, your all the other components that our system is not that doesn't deal with. But at the same time, you want to automate the mundane tasks, right? Like invoice processing. And on top of that, we have the payment feature where you can, once invoices are posted into SoftLedger, it's you know, automatically telling you like, oh, this invoice is posted, so you can select it for payment, and those payments go out directly from our platform as well. So the point of our system was that it was created by accountants for accountants, and taking all these little things into consideration, and multi-entity being a huge component of that, because it is such a crucial thing that businesses deal with, even at a very small stage. And so I don't think there are a lot of platforms that are actually helping with that component of it.
Yeah, it's a great point. That's one of the reasons why we partnered is we are also built by accountants for accountants, and so
Yes.
The way that CratoFlow automates AP is definitely much in line with how we kind of have built our product as well.
Yeah, exactly. And we can see that. And again, reiterating with this is just the payments factor, being able to kind of manage the end-to-end cycle of accounts payable, right? Being able to import an invoice and then all the way to payments, but also pushing the entries that you need for financial reporting directly into SoftLedger. So the whole point is that at the end, the reporting aspect should be fairly smooth and simple, just running your P&L and balance sheets in SoftLedger and seeing what you need to see.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Is there anything else you'd like to add, or we could jump directly into Q&A?
Yeah, definitely open to Q&A.
Great. Okay. We do have two questions that sort of combine into one. Essentially, what would be an example of a business with multi-entities that what type of problems would they typically face? How would the integration help them solve that? And sort of what would that process or workflow look like if they were entering in as a brand new user?
Sure, I can start, and then maybe you can layer on. Let's use an example of a entity with various real estate holdings. So real estate, it's a real estate company. They have a bunch of properties that a couple of them are just properties that don't have much activity going on, and a couple of them are large multifamily properties that have real payments accounts payable activity on them, and then the parent does some paying of bills on behalf of these properties as well that are shared among them. So in that scenario, you have AP activity happening at 2 multifamily properties, maybe a little bit happening at these smaller, less active real estate holdings that you just need to have in the whole organization to get a clear picture of all the financials. And you need to be able to, in an automated way, book all the expenses at each of those multifamily properties, and then when there are expenses that relate to other properties, be able to show the payables and receivables between each entity, and then eliminate it in consolidation. And so, yeah, that's an example where having this integration is particularly meaningful. I don't know if Shiv, if you'd add anything there.
Yeah, I mean, real estate is definitely one. I think even organizations that are managing different types of businesses, that's even if you're on, if you're a smaller like shop, then you're on like you have different types of intercompany transactions and things like that. It really comes into play when you're having to deal with all of that. You have to have the right company structure set up in a system that allows you to manage all of that, even at a line by line invoice entry level. And so you're not having to decipher between this goes to this account and this goes to that account, and then this payment has to be tied to this bank account because it's part of that entity, and you have to kind of keep all of that in mind as you're processing it. A system can take care of all of that for you because it associates bank accounts with entities and things like that. And so you want to be able to decipher that information systematically and then populate those entries systematically as well within the ERP. And so the integration works where we would basically, your organization structure would be set up in SoftLedger, for example. The same organizational structure would be set up in CratoFlow. Like Ben mentioned, he can handle multiple, as many kind of entities as you need, so can CratoFlow. And so then we would map the fields accordingly. And that's whenever an invoice comes in, you would simply select from a dropdown what entity that would belong to, and then that would get pushed into SoftLedger because the fields would be mapped.
Great, thank you. Let me go ahead and check. We do have another question. Here we go. Does CratoFlow have any plans to tackle payments in digital assets, such as paying an invoice in a stable coin like USDC?
Eventually, yes. Right now, it's something that we're working on. It's in our roadmap. And I know that's an integral part of what SoftLedger does. So it's definitely something that we are thinking about as well. If it's something that is a real use case and need for you, you could definitely chat about it.
Awesome. Thank you. We really loved having you here, and hopefully we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.